Ready, set, go.
Greetings, undetermined spectators of the World Wide Web. I am Tall Lanky Guy. Welcome back to Depression Quest. I know I'm not recording nearly as often as I used to, but I am so stupidly busy. It's ridiculous. So, I can't remember if we read through this. I think we did, but we're calling in sick to work. So, when you wake up the next morning, short of feeling well rested, you actually feel more stressed out. While it was definitely nice to get a break from work, you're now faced with a new problem you hadn't considered before. You still have to go to work today. While you aren't having the same problems physically getting out of bed you were having yesterday, the prospect of having to face your boss after missing a day of work does not seem appealing in the slightest. You worry that your absence won't be seen as believable or legitimate, that your coworkers and boss will think you were just trying to fastly play hooky. Worse, you fear that someone will actually ask you what's wrong, being caught in that instance and having to either make up a half-baked excuse or worse, that they'll see you right through you and quickly has your mood matching the drizzly weather outside. You know that you have to go into work, but your fear of being perceived as either lazy or defective is making you regret yesterday's decision to take the day off, and ultimately you feel worse for it. Oh, good. So things are just going great. It's 2 a.m. on a Sunday, and you have work in the morning. You roll over to see the sickly green glow of the time displayed on your LED alarm clock, and let out an exasperated sigh. You've been trying to fall asleep for over 3 hours now, to no avail. Every time your head hits the pillow, you're overcome with anxious thoughts that wrap themselves around each other. Worries about your job lead to worries about your future, lead to worries about your very identity, and you're unable to shake them off long enough to doze off. Your eyes won't even stay shut as your mind to imagine scenarios going horribly wrong, which you promptly attribute to your general worthlessness. Your thoughts run too fast for you to come to a satisfying conclusion on any one of them. Your room is completely silent. Silence has given way to a loud static noise rattling around inside your head. Your heart beats loudly, and you worry it's beating a little too fast. You worry that if you focus too strongly on your racing heart, you'll freak yourself out hard enough that you have a heart attack. You have to be awake for work in a mere 8 hours, and you know that your work is so much worse than only a few hours sleep. What do? Apparently, I don't really have any other option other than to go to my computer, deal with the insomnia for a bit. You get out of bed and head to your desk. In bed with nothing but your thoughts to keep you company makes you feel like you're going insane. The harshness of the light coming from the screen makes you squint as you turn it on, despite how often you find yourself in this exact situation. There have been so many nights lately just like this. You begin reading a news story. A friend of yours, I am Zoo. You're up late again, I see. Yeah, can't sleep. Again. Thinking too much again? Guessed it. Want to talk about it? You end up talking with Attic for quite some time about how you've been feeling. He's always been easy to talk to about personal matters, and the added security of talking online helps. Being able to rethink what you say as you type out and check it before you send it out helps you gather your thoughts, and you find it less intimidating in a way to type it all into a prompt than say it aloud. I don't want to be that guy who thinks they can diagnose something because I read a Wikipedia article, but it kind of sounds like you might have depression. You should talk to someone about that, like a doctor. You pause. Are you really that transparent? Or is it that you've gotten used to talking about your feelings at this point? Your insomnia makes you a little paranoid, but you shake it off. We can do some research and see if there's a good doctor near you. It's not like you're going back to sleep anytime soon anyway. Might as well do something while you're awake. Actually, I have talked to someone about it. This is true. It is very true that I'm seeing a person. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're taking that step. I've heard it's not an easy one. I know people kind of suck at understanding this sort of stuff sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with having depression. You wouldn't be ashamed to have bronchitis or something, so there's no reason to be ashamed if it's your brain that's sick instead. Indeed. You spend a few more minutes talking with Attic about your therapy and your feelings about it. He's incredibly supportive, and you're happy to find that you have a confidant that understands your illness and is willing to lend an ear when you're having nights like this. A little while later, you fall back into bed, kitten in tow, and find it easier to drift off into sleep. Even in therapy, you know you're still going to have nights like these sometimes. It's good to know you have a friend who will help carry you through them. Just say you are seeing a therapist, even though you doubt anything she says could make you feel better. It's something. It's something. It is a chilly Thursday night, and you've just gotten off work. This has felt like one of the longest days you've faced in recent memory. Even though nothing exceptional has happened, a ton of minor things keep going wrong. Coworkers that tried your patience throughout the day. You considered leaving work early. The last thing you wanted to do was deal with your insufferable boss on top of everything else. Lost in thought on the commute home, and your feelings of frustration both with your life and the world around you build as you run into minor annoyances like someone bumping into you really hard as they walk by. By the time you get home, you're exhausted, and remember that these feelings were ones you identified as a negative feedback loop with your therapist. These pent-up feelings aren't dying down, they're eating at you. You open your front door and stare at your apartment. An overwhelming feeling of exhaustion comes you, and you feel like your energy levels are low enough that you'll likely settle into a single activity tonight. What do we do? Let's, can't just shake off the bad mood, do something fun for the evening. It's never really an option in this situation. So, let's reach out to someone. Yeah. Your head feels too noisy and you need to trade it for some actual conversation. Your therapist did say that it was important to reach out to your support network, so you might as well give it a shot. I feel like you should probably have some sort of a conversation with Alex. You know, kind of break the silence after the awkward Netflix date. You dial Alex, who picks up after only 2 rings. Oh, that's good. You ask if she's got time to talk, and she tells you that she's just hanging around in her PJs, and is actually somewhat bored for once due to being caught up in her coursework. You try to figure out where to start with how you're feeling, and are overcome with missing her face. You ask if she feels like grabbing some dinner, and you notice her barely contained surprise and delight on the other end of the line. You meet up about half an hour later at an inexpensive diner not far from your apartment. While the food is not great, you're surprised by how much your mood seems to have elevated just being in her company. While at first you were extremely hesitant to talk about your job situation, for fear of being burdensome or sounding like a whiner, you see her listening intently to you with what even to you seems to be genuine concern. After winding down with beer, you cautiously open up a little bit more about your feelings surrounding your job and how drained it leaves you feeling. You feel like you're simply existing, selling days of your life for no real purpose. You surprise even yourself when you start talking about how frustrated and stymied you feel by your job, about how you used to feel passionately about things, but feel like all your energy and capacity for creativity is getting leached out of you each and every workday. You can't remember how long it's been since you've externalized this much raw emotion. The two of you spend several hours in that diner booth, long after your half-eaten food was cleared and the waitress stopped refilling your coffee cups. As you get up to leave, a sudden wave of self-consciousness washes over you, and you suddenly feel incredibly awkward. Then Alex stands up and grabs you tightly around your waist. Realize that, short of boring her and seemingly endless rants, she's simply happy to have gotten a chance to spend time with you. It's been, by all accounts, incredibly too long since you've allowed yourself to open up to them like this, and there's an almost palpable feeling of closeness you allow yourself to hold on to as you go to bed that night. Oh, that's good. That's so good. I'm so glad that they're good days. They're good days. It is an utterly nondescript Wednesday afternoon. The type of afternoon that would completely fade from memory unless one made an active effort to preserve it. As has become routine on Wednesdays, you are sitting on the couch in Dr. Melville's office. To your mild surprise, she begins this session by breaking her characteristic therapist silence and begins speaking up right away. I want to start by saying I think it's great that you decided to come see me. It's an incredibly important first step, she begins. Excuse me. I wanted to take some time today to talk to you about the possibility of supplementing or substituting your treatment with medication. Mention of medication makes her ears perk up, and you feel your heart rate increasing. She continues. Many people find adding a pharmacological element to their treatment to be very helpful, and some even prefer to take drugs, completely eliminating their need to visit a therapist at all, providing you rely on your support network and are still reaching out to people. I would prefer it if we kept talking, should you choose to start medication, so that I can monitor your progress and adjust as needed. But the choice is ultimately yours. I just wanted to run the option by you to gauge what your thoughts on the matter might be. Dr. Melville has just given you a lot to think about. Let's see here. Honestly, the thought of messing with my brain chemicals does make me uneasy, quite frankly. I think I'm gonna stick with the therapy. The mere mention of medication makes you stiffen uneasily. It was hard enough for you to work up the nerve to start coming to therapy, but the thought of introducing into the equation drugs that literally alter the chemicals in your brain totally freaks you out. You may feel somewhat honor-bound to Amanda to keep up with your therapy, but you draw the line at ingesting any sort of chemical that you can't buy at a liquor store. Yeah. Oh, that's just something, one of those fears that I have. It's a Wednesday evening and you're visiting at your parents' house for a holiday. A handful of times during the year where you drive out to visit your old hometown. You've seen random people you had gone to school with around. Whenever bumping into them, the usual short versions of what you've done since graduating are exchanged. You've gone through a few of these today and have been very aware of how much you feel like you haven't accomplished. When you were in high school, you had much larger plans and you feel like you've failed to manifest most of them. Even if you had managed to, you've largely lost interest in what you thought you wanted to do growing up. Now you're not really sure what you want to do, and you felt like you're lacking the ambition to drive to figure it out. Everyone you caught up with seems so much happier than you, like they got their lives all figured out, and you've kind of been feeling like a failure by comparison. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his wife in tow shortly before you all sit down to dinner. He's been traveling for his job lately, and you haven't seen him since the day he picked you up from the dentist. Your parents haven't seen him since before then. During dinner, they all catch up, and Malcolm talks about the amazing things he's done on the road. Your mother turns to you and asks what you've been up to since you've seen them last. Well, same old, you say. Nothing really new going on. Mother makes a face. Oh, nothing new? How long are you planning on staying at that job of yours? What do I say? Tell them that you're actively looking for a more prestigious position. I'm gonna admit, I don't know what I want to do. That's what I would tell my parents. we were having this conversation, and so that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I want to do. Actually, to start sheepishly, I'm not really sure what I want to do right now. It's down her fork. So what, you're planning on living the way you do for the rest of your life? How would you afford a house on that paycheck? What about kids? Father interrupts, lightly placing his hand over your mother's. It's okay, Linda. Let the kids be what they are. There's nothing wrong with not knowing what you want to do in your 20s. I didn't get into construction until I was nearly 40. Your mother looks across the table at you, unsatisfied with her husband's reasoning. I don't think it's normal for someone at that age to not have a path. You need to think hard about it, or you'll never make anything of yourself. Mom. Malcolm interjects. This emotionally exhausts you. You want to tell her that you are thinking hard, and that not knowing what you're doing with yourself bothers you more than it could ever bother her. Sometimes it feels like you're lost in the woods, and that if you were to drop dead in your apartment, the world wouldn't notice. You want to make her understand that more often than not, you feel like an alien, like there isn't anywhere in this world that feels like a place where you belong. You have no idea how to fix it or what to do. You wish you could find the words so she would understand that being looked down on this kills you and drives the feeling of being a total outsider. Instead, you get very quiet for the rest of the meal while your mind goes numb. Everything inside you feels exhausted. I'm gonna go for one more. Short little one. Yeah. It's a rainy night. You are hurrying through the rain to Alex's apartment at her behest. Though your pace is quick, the rain is steadily soaking up your pant legs as you traverse the town. It's darkening your already poor mood. The call came while you were at home after a day of dealing with abnormally frustrating people. You'd spent the afternoon trying to unwind and get some work on your project done. It's called and interrupted one of your try to make progress, get frustrated at not making progress, have a harder time making progress due to frustration, repeat loops. And you haven't fully shaken off the feelings of being annoyed with yourself from it yet. You knock on her door, and on the third knock hear her voice call from further in the apartment to come on in. As you cross the threshold dripping rainwater all the way, you notice that the lights are turned down very low in the apartment. You squint to navigate it as you clutch onto your damp umbrella, but end up hitting your shin on a side table, mumbling a profanity under your breath. You barely make out Alex emerging from the hallway, clad in what looks to be a robe, bare skin over her legs peering out underneath. Why don't you come in and... she says in her designated, slightly cheesy, sexy voice. After a beat of silence, she states more naturally, my roommates are out of town this weekend, so I thought it might be nice to have a little fun while they're away. You appreciate her affection, but you're too wrapped up in your own negative feedback loops to be in the mood right now. You do. Well, I think I'm gonna decide what I'm gonna do with this in the next episode. So, thanks a bunch for watching. If you liked the video, if you liked the video, go ahead and click the button for that. If you got thoughts about, the decisions that I've made in this episode, feel free to put those down there. Please be respectful. And if you haven't subscribed, maybe that's the thing you want to do. I'll see you later.